The Argentine pilots were taking heavy losses. One was shot down over Fearless and ended up bobbing in the water a few hundred yards away. A landing craft was sent to pick him up.
On East Falkland, the settlements at Douglas and Teal Inlet to the north were soon under British control. If Goose Green and Darwin to the south could also be secured, then the way to Port Stanley would be clear. To counter the plan, General Menendez ordered reinforcements to the garrison at Goose Green, bringing his strength there to 1,400 men. The British commander, General Moore, decided to attack. Argentine losses were heavy. Hundreds of men were killed, wounded, or taken prisoner.
Right.
The fighting began at 2 a.m. on the morning of May the 29th.
Right.
BBC radio reporter Robert Fox was with the men who fought there.
The battle was begun at night. It began with a heavy naval bombardment, and you can still see the scars of that around here, an artillery bombardment, and then it was a full open battalion attack on very well dug in enemy positions. The positions were much better prepared than had been expected. There were far more enemy. When we took the surrender later, we could not believe that we had 1,000 men putting down their arms on the airfield here behind me. The attack was led by Lieutenant Colonel H. Jones, always known as H, a genial extrovert figure who led his battalion in peace and in war with the same friendly, almost abandoned manner. It was one of the most heroic attacks that a British infantry battalion has carried out since the Second World War. And the main battle lasted 14 bitter hours. I was with the battalion main headquarters throughout that battle, and if we were within a few feet of being killed from shrapnel, from shell, from mortar, from artillery, very well positioned, we were close to that 40 or 50 times. Towards the evening, the CO himself, H. Jones, was killed in an act of almost foolish bravery. He was leading a platoon attack to free his two companies that had been pinned down for nearly an hour by heavy machine gun fire. And as he approached a machine gun position, he was scythed down. It was a message that spread throughout the battalion. We knew that we
After the fighting, the surrender negotiations went on through the night. At daybreak, the Paras took a final risk, using much of their ammunition in a demonstration of firepower, which left the peat and the gorse smouldering. The Argentinians gave in. The Paras had gambled and won, without even appreciating the odds against them. The people of Goose Green were glad to see the back of them. They'd swapped one army for another, and there was no doubt which they preferred. Every soldier was a celebrity. The Argentinians had set their defences right through the village, even a rocket launcher on top of the children's slide. With all the armaments lying about, the village was a very unsafe place.
You're all right, not upset by it, eh? All right.
The little girl, Anna Robson, who's 3, was still frightened of helicopters. A lot of children had been evacuated to Goose Green from Port Stanley for their safety. It turned out to be the last place that was safe.
You're all right now, aren't you? Eh?
The villagers were concerned about the state of their houses. The whole population, swollen to over 100 by evacuees, had been locked up in the small village hall for a month, and their homes
What
had
did you
been
think
vandalised.
when the British went to begin with?
I'm afraid I cried. I cried a lot because, you know, Britain had gone and all we knew had gone, and it was just something totally new and unknown to us had arrived, and we never knew how they would treat us and what would, what would become of us, really.
Did you think of leaving yourself?
At the beginning, yes, before I realised that the forces were coming out here. But when I realised the forces were coming out here, I wanted to stay and see it through.
And now?
And now I want to stay too, for appreciation for what the British troops have done.
The
for
garrison
us.
had plenty of equipment if they'd wished to fight on, but it was in poor condition. The rifles were rusty, and none of the prisoners had any cleaning equipment on them, something that baffled the professional British soldiers. The surrender ceremony had taken place on the recreation ground. There'd been a speech and the singing of the national anthem, greeted with little enthusiasm by the conscripts. There seemed little identity of purpose between them and their officers. When the British came to bury their dead, 11 of the 17 were officers or NCOs. The British way to take men to battle is to lead from the front, a tradition that Colonel Jones was following. He led his battalion from the front and died. There's talk that the colonel may be awarded a posthumous VC for his gallantry in a military action on which the official verdict from London was of unstinting praise.
The lives of the Falkland Islanders in that area are safe. 1,400 men in well-prepared positions were outfought by a magnificent battalion of some 600 parachutists. In my view, this is one of the most brilliant and courageous battalion actions which has been conducted since the end of World War II. And all of those of us in the armed forces salute to Para.
Lieutenant Colonel Jones, Captain Wood, Captain Dent, Lieutenant Barry, Corporal Hardman, Corporal Sullivan, Corporal Fryer, Lance Corporal Cork, Lance Corporal Smith, Lance Corporal Bingley, Private Holman Smith, Private Fletcher, Private Illingsworth, Private Meakin, Private Dixon. From 3 Commando Brigade Air Squadron, Lieutenant Nunn. From 5-9 Commando Royal Engineers, Corporal Melia.
I'm not allowed to say how many planes joined the raid, but I counted them all out, and I counted them all back. Their pilots were unhurt, cheerful and jubilant, giving thumbs-up signs.